Welcome to Cordkillers. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Where's the good stuff, Brian?
Oh my gosh, I'm checking right now to make sure it's still the case, but I do believe it is at Rotten Tomatoes regarding the TV show MurderBot, which I believe still has, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. With, I believe, 25 reviews and counting. Fingers crossed, holding breath.
Yeah, me too. Not that I trust Rotten Tomatoes, but at least that's a good sign.
Or at least not anymore. You used to trust them, but now you question their judgment.
I don't know. Something changed. Yeah, we don't have an IMDb rating for them. So yeah, no, that's it's, I don't know. I'm feeling positive.
Yeah.
Feeling
so it does sound like it is definitely something different than the book, right? Like I was about to read the book, but then now I'm like, well, if it's this close and it's going to be good, then I'm definitely going to watch it first.
It looks very close in substance, but different than how I imagined some things in style. However, some of the characters, I'm like, oh no, that's what that person looked like to me. That's what that person looked like to me. So yeah, I'm going to be interested how much they need to vary it from the books, but they have the one of the big things that I'm a fan of MurderBot's character is that he watches dramas, at robot speed, and then talks about them in the way we talk about dramas. And so I'm very looking forward to the fact that they included that, we're going to get to see those dramas like Rise and Fall of the Sanctuary Moon and stuff in there. I don't know. I'm just going to fanboy out if we keep going. Maybe we should get to the supply run.
All right.
Supply run.
Netflix has announced a big redesign to its TV-based apps. It's not the first thing they've changed in 12 years, but it's the biggest redesign to the TV interface for Netflix in 12 years. The left side nav is now at the top.
That's it? That's the big change?
There's a few other things in there too, but I feel like this is a joke in design circles of your big redesign. You moved your nav. Was it on the left? Now it's at the top. Was it at the top? Now it's at the left.
They did the same thing when Google added 3 words, and apparently they agonized for weeks and weeks, and they're all like, we combined them into 2 words. And then, ooh, so brilliant.
Yeah. The side note, Google changed its logo.
Yeah.
It's now got a blur effect.
Yeah, instead of hard lines, it's got a gradient.
It's got a gradient. The rows of suggested shows will now feature a much larger image. That is a big change. You'll notice. So the first show in any row is big, and then the other shows will be small. Up until now, they've all been the same size. There's more info included now that you got a bigger thumbnail for that, such as whether it won awards, whether it has a high ranking on Netflix's own charts, stuff like that. Netflix also said the algorithms choosing things for the rows should be more responsive to your moods and interests. In fact, sometimes even in the moment, they said it'll be based on time of day. They'll have different recommendations in the evening than they will during the day. If you just double thumbs up Squid Game, it might give you more Squid Game-like stuff right away. Netflix also is testing adding a vertical video feed of short clips from shows in a TikTok-like format. You can add shows to lists, start watching them, or share them with friends right from them. That's more for the mobile app than the TV thing. And finally, the Netflix app on iOS will expand testing of its search that uses OpenAI to help understand your natural language requests. Select subscribers will be asked to opt in. Do you want to try out the OpenAI-powered search? And Engadget reports that when asked about adding a link out to alternate ways to pay in the App Store, Netflix took a more conservative approach than Amazon, Spotify, and Patreon, saying it will continue to abide by App Store policies until we hear more about how to best implement any changes going forward. So you're not going to see the Netflix link out to subscribe quite yet.
Yeah, so the most visually striking thing is all of the vertical video elements, the TikTok-like experience, which kind of made me reflect, Tom, on where are we at in terms of landscape versus vertical video in general? Are we finally admitting that different modalities have like, are we finally admitting that Quibi was right and that we want to be able to watch either way?
I think so. I think we're definitely at the point where people don't immediately say vertical video bad. I think people understand like, oh, if I'm on TikTok, vertical video is preferable. I don't want to be watching landscape on TikTok or Snapchat or Reels. Whether there's a sort of we should shoot everything in two ways or not, I don't know. I don't know how far down that road we are.
Yeah, I do know that I'm trying to...
Feels like the attitude right now is if it's landscape, you can always crop out a vertical, but if it's vertical, it's harder to make it landscape.
Yes, although now the content on Monorouge and coming soon on Scam Nation as well is all not just 16:9 wide, but 2:1 wide. I'm falling in love with the very widescreen format. So it is getting a bit more extreme because it's tickling. Monorouge does very, very well on shorts. So I want to be able to make vertical videos out of everything, but also I really like how wide it is. So basically, everything's just a square in the middle. I'm doing the Quibi, is what I'm saying.
You're Quibi now. You've become Quibi, hence the question. The other thing about this big redesign that caught my eye is this was on the front page of the New York Times the same day as the new Pope got announced. So like big news, world has new Pope. He's American. Farther down on the page, Netflix redesigns TV app. Like to me, it wasn't so much that the app redesign was so titanic, but that Netflix is television now. Netflix is the television that everyone watches. Netflix is the mass media now in ways that broadcast and cable are not anymore, because there's a significant number of people who don't watch broadcast and cable. There's a significant number of people who watch broadcast and cable who don't watch Peacock or Paramount Plus, but I think everybody watches Netflix.
Yeah, in fact, it makes me wonder, the most annoying feature, of course, of Netflix is the moment you go there, not only does it start blasting a trailer at you at full volume, but also, have you played the game of trying to move your mouse to literally anywhere that won't autoplay the little, the hot rocks of all the individual...
I rarely use Netflix in a browser, but I know exactly what you mean from multiple kinds of interfaces.
Yeah, exactly, right? I wonder whether or not that is roughly equivalent to being able to break in with a breaking news story. And I wonder how long until that feature is used for some kind of important, timely world event.
No, it's interesting you say that. One of the things they said that they were aiming for in this redesign, especially with that big icon instead of having the equal size icons, is a way to show you when something is live. Particularly live sports. So, when they have that NFL game, when they have those games on Christmas, that'll be up there at the top and probably auto playing. Like you turn on Netflix and there's the game. And if you want to watch it, you're watching it. You just click in to make it big.
Yeah. So I guess the vertical, the desktop, I guess it is big news, but it is a mild change.
It is not that big of a change. And it's akin to like, I don't know, NBC shook up its primetime network in 1982. Like that was the sense I got in reading all these stories, is like, it wasn't a tech company. It wasn't a streaming service. It was, Netflix, and we all watch Netflix, and the way we watch it is going to change. Things are going to be in different places now. Get ready. And it was just another sign that Netflix is not just a streaming service. It is television now. For the vast majority of the world, it is television.
Yeah, and a peculiar flavor of television at that. I mean, to my late 20th century anchored Gen X mind, it just keeps feeling more and more like HBO did. But HBO, of course, outside of sports, I didn't associate it with anything timely.
Well, I think Netflix has gone well beyond being HBO. That's where my head's at. Well, Netflix has become, let's turn on the TV. Like, let's see what's on TV. You turn on, you launch Netflix. Now, I think YouTube is more like that, but it's a smaller subset of people that it is like that for. Whereas Netflix, all ages, people with cable, people without cable, they know Netflix. It's massively popular, and so
don't know.
maybe it
I
hasn't
wonder-
quite come as generic as let's turn on the TV, we turn to Netflix, the way I think YouTube has become for some people, but it's more massively popular.
Yeah, I don't know. In terms of cultural prestige, I would see that immediately. But YouTube's much bigger than Netflix in terms.
YouTube
of raw
is
numbers.
yeah, but the across the demographics, it's not as big. So you don't have the penetration across technical prowess across all of those things the way you do with Netflix. I think it's pretty close, but I think. It doesn't matter age, gender, region. People know Netflix as television right now. A lot of people may know YouTube. They may not use it every day, and they don't think of it as television except in a subset. And in a subset, if I'm explaining this right, there's the kind of more tech savvy and a little younger, I think, demo that looks at YouTube as TV. It's their first stop. Right. And so I think YouTube has the inside lane on this, but Netflix is
got it. So
wider.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Netflix is in the mind, it owns the territory of on purpose TV watching, as opposed to YouTube is incidental TV watching.
And YouTube doesn't exist for the person who still has cable. Let's say there's a 57-year-old, I almost said 55, but that's my age. A 57-year-old guy who has cable and is like, I don't know about these Peacocks and Paramount Pluses, but that person has Netflix. That person knows what Netflix is, and they watch Netflix. Yeah. They don't watch YouTube yet much, maybe on their phone.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, cordkillers@gmail.com. Write us and pick a winner. Who's righter of the two of us?
Yeah, to me, this one's less about right and wrong. It's more about time. I think YouTube is on its way there. I think YouTube is television for a lot of people as well. But when YouTube changes its interface, it doesn't get covered by the mainstream media the way this Netflix thing did. And I'm like, oh, Netflix is broadcast TV now. You know, YouTube is still a little bit for people who know. It's a little more like for the people who've mastered their smartphone. I'm probably overstating all of these comparisons, but there's something there where Netflix is just it's just easy. Everyone knows what it is. Everyone uses it. What everyone doesn't use, and we need your help with this, is patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Yeah, you know what? I was on a subway in Austin, Texas, and a crazy old man was saying, I never go to Patreon. And I was like, why, sir? He was like, because Apple takes 30%. And I said, that's a very specific reason to not go to Patreon. He says, it's the only thing stopping me from supporting things. And I was like, well, you do know, thanks to the landmark ruling against Epic Games, or in favor of Epic Games, you can now click out and sign up outside of the iOS app and support us. He goes, name one place I should go. And I said, patreon.com/Cordkillers. That's where you can go to keep us loud, live, and independent. And he said, I'm actually a balloon. And then he floated away. It was really weird, Tom.
Yeah. That is a weird thing for a balloon to say. But I just want to make it clear, we're not anti-balloon. If you're a balloon and you want to support us on Cordkillers on our Patreon, please do. We welcome all.
Yeah, I don't care if you are full of hot air. In fact, prove it to your friends by supporting us, who are definitely full of hot air, at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Did you grab them and like suck in some of them and then talk in a funny voice?
We were in public, so I figured.
That's not polite. Plus, he'd already floated away at that point.
Yes.
Well, you will get the full experience earlier than everyone else, and you know that you're going to brag to your fellow balloons on the bus that you got it earlier if you're a patron. So go get that, as well as After Talk, where you find out what color that balloon was. Brian divulges all in our After Talk.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's our new segment, Latex Talk, where we go into all the balloony details.
Don't get us banned from Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's move on now to the search party. the last piece of the puzzle for the completion of your ability to be a la carte, no cable, get everything has fallen. ESPN will launch its standalone service this autumn. And Brian, what do you think it's called?
Hooray for hot air balloons, the ESPN story app.
No, that's very close in one respect. Would you like to take a second crack at it?
Just ESPN.
Just ESPN. That is correct. Yeah, they're not going to make it ESPN Fun or even ESPN Plus because that's already taken by their other service. ESPN's
That's interesting, Tom. You realize what that implies is like you don't need to announce that you're outside the party.
No,
that's what happens when the party's all the way dead.
Yeah.
Is you're just like, are we no longer pretending? We're no longer pretending. Yeah, we're ESPN.
There's just another way to get ESPN. And you could pay $30 a month.
Back to the hot air balloon guy.
A little bit of a Freudian slip there. $30 a month, starting this autumn. That will give you everything that ESPN has on cable. And they have lots of channels. People don't realize it's ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN News, ACC Network, SEC Network. There's multiple channels that go into this, and ESPN Plus. ESPN Plus content, all not on cable. That's why you sell it separately. And so ESPN, the $30 service, has all of it. Everything that's on cable, everything that's not on cable that ESPN offers, plus some bells and whistles like some betting tools, some fantasy stuff, some like custom sports center delivery, all of that $30 a month. There will be a bundle of Disney Plus, Hulu, and the full ESPN package. That'll be $36 a month, though for the first year, if you buy it from launch, it'll be $30 a month. Bob Iger told investors, if you're a subscriber of linear ESPN right now, you automatically get everything in this ESPN service. You just log in with your cable identity. You will not get ESPN Plus, but you will get all the other ESPN content, including all those bells and whistles I mentioned. So that's finally here. And I was talking about this on Daily Tech News Show. You now have all the sports available from some kind of streaming service. You've got Warner has all the TNT, TBS stuff on Max. You have Peacock for all the NBC sports stuff, Paramount Plus for all the CBS sports stuff, and now ABC Sports and ESPN available in a standalone service.
Congratulations, cable, you're dead. It feels like a little bit like we're reporting from whatever island the last holdout from the Japanese fighting forces.
The battleship is leaving that last island.
Yeah.
It's like, and the battleship is named ESPN.
Yeah. Remember the cable wars?
Yeah.
We don't.
Now, granted, $30 a month is a stiff, tall drink for a lot of people, but we were talking about upwards of $50 a month for ESPN at some point. So this is dead center in the middle.
Yeah, and also remember that ESPN was the beneficiary of a disproportionately large amount of your cable bill, sports in general, all of that.
Yeah. Ambassador Domo pointing out that there's some other external content that's getting added in as part of this. The Rich Eisen show is an example of that. So, the ESPN becoming a streaming service bundled in with Disney and Hulu at $36 a month. I think a lot of people are just going to do that. They're just going to be like, that's cheap for Disney Plus and Hulu, and I want all the ESPN stuff. And once you start realizing that like ESPN is more than a half dozen networks, they have all the sports covered. That doesn't mean every single game, but every type of sport is broadcast on ESPN one way or another. Amazon has approved a third season of Fallout to be made. And if you're like, whoa, when did I miss the second season? That doesn't premiere till December, but they've already decided, you know what, this is so good, we're going to make a third season anyway.
Yeah, you know what? That telegraphs to me because there is all things being equal, you want to spend it's so good, we're doing another season of it right before the next season. We talked about how that was kind of unused PR bandwidth, that it's like a free advertisement that you get. So the only reason I could think of logically that they would have to make this announcement now and not right before the release of season 2 would be if for logistics, they had to start moving people around and get started right away. then you got to go ahead and announce it now. You can't save it as a free coupon right before season 2.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Or maybe the third season needs to come out earlier because of Amazon's schedule, and so they need to start faster or something. Yeah. Amazon also approved MrBeast's Beast Games for 2 more seasons. Season 1 was Prime Video's most streamed unscripted show to date.
Man, I got this crazy idea. Beast Games should actually get to the point where, like, the title and thumbnail, the thumbnail should be like one person punching another, and it says, beat up the other guy to win $1 million. And I'm just describing boxing. It's just literally,
boxing. Yeah. The Paper is going to be the name of the new spinoff of The Office, set at Toledo newspaper The Truth Teller, premiering exclusively on Peacock this September. They announced this on X. Domhnall Gleeson, which Engadget very cutely credited to Ex Machina instead of Star Wars.
Oh, wait, really?
Domhnall Gleeson and Sabrina Impacciatore from The White Lotus will star alongside Oscar Nunez, who's going to reprise his role as Oscar from The Office, following a lateral career move that finds him as the accountant for this newspaper now.
Yeah, so I wonder, it doesn't sound like he'll be the hub so much as just the connective thread. You know, my guess is he'll continue to be flummoxed by the
I imagine so. Yeah, he'll still play the same role as Oscar did in The Office, but he'll just do it for The Paper, about a newspaper, probably buy their paper from Dunder Mifflin, I would guess. We had a trailer out for season 2 of Peacemaker from Max. That is set to return on August 21st.
Yeah, dude. I'll talk about it when we get to the letters, the avalanche of letters that we got. But did you catch James Gunn's brother in that?
I did. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Looks like more of the Peacemaker that I love. So
yeah, I did like the fact that the neat thing about a bunch of F-ups is that it's very easy to reset the protagonist counter to immediately, of course, after saving the world, they would immediately go back to a low status position. So it's not a heavy lift. It's not like they won the lottery and somehow they have to justify that the money's all gone or something. Yeah.
Although that is easy enough, I guess. Fox, by the way, when I mentioned all the sports are available online, I forgot Fox Sports, but that's okay because Fox will enter the streaming video on demand space this August with Fox One that will launch right before the start of the NFL season. It will be quote unquote holistic of all the company's content, including Fox Sports and Fox News.
Yeah.
That's the last of the American broadcast networks to fall. They were only available in pieces, some on Hulu, some on Tubi, some in the Fox Nation app. So now you'll have all the Fox stuff available in one service.
It is kind of funny how transparent all of this becomes, where it's like everybody for the longest time kept on saying, guys, cable's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. And then there's a gap. And then suddenly it's like, yeah, cable's been dead forever. I don't understand.
Cable's still around? Really? Yeah, interesting. One of Netflix's most popular series, Ginny and Georgia, released a trailer for season 3. That'll be coming out on June 5th. Netflix has also removed the last 2 shows listed on its interactive specials page, Goodbye, Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend. They left yesterday, May 12th, as we are recording this. Too late.
Boy, I'll tell you what, it really says something that I really intended to at least take a peek before they went away and just couldn't be bothered, couldn't get around to it. So I'm like, you know what?
I'm kind of the same way. I was like, I should look at Bandersnatch one more time. Yeah. Apple announced that season 3 of Foundation will arrive on Apple TV Plus on July 11th. New episodes weekly through September 12th.
Yeah. I fell off of that like by episode 3, but
I fell off a little later. I did, but I think I made it all the way through the first season. I just never returned for the second.
Yeah.
Jude Law and Andrew Garfield will star in an Apple TV series about Siegfried and Roy called Wild Things, based on the Apple original podcast of the same name.
I'll tell you what, it's a great story. I mean, it's a solid, true story. And I've not listened to the podcast. I'm only familiar with the authentic story of the two people who revolutionized what not only magic looked like, but also what the performing in Vegas looked like. All the elements are there. So I hope it's quite good. And I know that Apple TV, we just talked about Murderbot, appears to be
usually does
it.
good stuff. Peacock announced some new features will come in it when it begins streaming NBA games in October. This is different than NBA on cable. This is NBA games on Peacock. An optional performance view will show a live shot chart and percentages for different types of shots for players with the ball. It will also start showing games as soon as you open the app to make them more prominent. There's also a scorecard feature that lets you predict things like which players will get, 25 points in this game or 10 rebounds or something. You can compete with other viewers, get a leaderboard, earn some points within the app. I'm not sure what the points are good for. You'll also be able to scroll through highlights beneath the video player to catch up on games you missed. And later in next season, it will add Courtside Live, which lets you see views from alternate angles on the court.
Gambling. Everything is gambling.
Most of this is gambling, except for the alternate views, I guess, unless you're gambling on a particular person doing a particular thing, I guess.
I'll be curious to see to mark the cultural shift. Like during the pandemic, it was suddenly drinking was popular, and then post-pandemic, like Thunderbolts, it's like, and you got better now. But now gambling is on its way in, and I wonder what the cultural pushback against that will be.
Yeah. But also, I think it's worth pointing out that beyond just the gambling, although a lot of what I'm about to say is in the service of gambling, they are taking advantage of the platform to say like, oh, you couldn't do this on cable, but we're on a computer. Even if it's an Apple TV or a Roku, we can do things that you couldn't do over cable because it was too difficult. And now we have the internet, so let's make use of it. I think we're going to see more of that. YouTube will stream an NFL game week 1. The game is the Brazil game. It will happen on Friday, September 5th. LA Chargers against a yet to be named opponent. They haven't decided who else is going to Brazil with them, I guess. But this is not YouTube Sunday Ticket. This is not YouTube TV. This is YouTube. YouTube will stream an NFL game.
That kind of makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of surprising that YouTube would be a laggard or I guess not, because NFL is able to command kind of premium top dollar for that stuff.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that it would be like, it was a big news story when Amazon did it, and as Netflix gets into sports, we're seeing, yeah, all right.
Yeah. No, it is interesting. This one is free. You don't have to pay anything to watch it. You just install YouTube, at least at this point. We'll see if they charge for it, but I have a feeling they won't. This will just be free with ads, which maybe what we're looking at is YouTube is the indie channel to Netflix's mainstream broadcast channel. The YouTube is the channel 11 or the channel 30, and Netflix is the 2, 4, and 5. Finally, there's a new trailer out for Nobody 2, the sequel to Nobody. Brian, you pointed this out. What's the trailer look like? I haven't seen it yet.
It was fun. Little, remember Nobody? It's back in Nobody 2 form. I actually was hoping the first one would be Nobody, the second one would be Somebody, and the third one would be Everybody. But I guess when you invest in making
they may have focus grouped that and found out that it didn't work. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah. What was Nobody about again?
Oh, Bob Odenkirk does a John Wick.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Although Bob Odenkirk looked surprisingly spry in Nobody 1, less surprisingly spry in Nobody 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm less surprisingly spry than I was when Nobody 1 first came out.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Christopher Lloyd was ambulatory, which was impressive.
Hey, look at that. See, it's all about expectation setting. Let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Now, buried treasure is supposed to be where Brian and I talk about something we've been watching, and then maybe you get an idea of like, oh, that's a cool thing. I want to watch that too. But Brian, you just wrote down search engine. You can't just say you were on Google. That's what you were looking at.
Yeah. First of all, if I were to tell you what I've been watching, I'd get in trouble because I've been told I can't always pick Andor. Although that is all I watched all weekend was Andor.
Yeah, it's less useful if it's Andor every week for both of us. That's a good point.
And so I was trying to think of literally anything that I had consumed, and I drove up to Dallas to pick up my daughter, and I listened to the podcast Search Engine, and Friday's episode had a real treat. It's a little mystery about an unpatched bug in iOS. Did you know, Tom, that you cannot record a voice memo with the words Dave and Buster's on your iOS device?
I've heard this.
You have? Okay.
I've also recorded a voice memo that said it, so I'm not sure what I did wrong.
Well, no, it won't send it. It'll act like you've sent it, but the other party will not receive it.
Will not receive it. Okay.
Spoiler alert, it turns out it's the ampersand. It's because an ampersand, one left hand, right hand talking, it looks like code. Anyway, it was cute. That's something that you could do. That's not Andor, but also you should watch Andor.
Yeah, I agree with that. that statement. Do you really haven't watched any other television or movies?
I got to tell you, Tom, we've talked a little bit in after talk about what a productive time this has been. I mean, quite literally, I get up at 5, I run 5 to 7 miles, and I just create all day. I'm rounding the corner. You know what? If you're going to watch something, watch The Modern Rogue, because we are now at the point 8 months into me learning everything about running the studio. I'm now pretty fast at turning around actual content. I was able to drop 2 episodes in just a week, and it's only going to get faster from here.
Fantastic. That's good news. And Modern Rogue, totally worth a watch. Took me a couple of days to watch the most recent Doctor Who, so I'm not sure what that says, but I have been keeping up on the current season of Doctor Who. It is the Russell T Davies run Doctor Who. It's the 2nd season with Ncuti Gatwa and Russell T Davies. Ncuti Gatwa playing the Doctor, Russell running the show. There's a new companion named Belinda. You will recognize Belinda as the woman who drove the car that guy who was leaving the party from Mon Mothma in Andor and was clearly going to go kill him. She's Belinda.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The assassin. But she's the companion of the Doctor. I'm enjoying these stories. I think they are not as groundbreaking as Russell T Davies' stories felt the first time he ran Doctor Who.
And when he did, was that during the Christopher Eccleston days, or?
Yeah, he brought Doctor Who back. Doctor Who had not been on for years. Russell T Davies brought on Christopher Eccleston, did the David Tennant years, and then handed it over to Stephen A. Moffat for the Matt Smith years.
It had a real Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibe back in those days.
Which, appropriately enough, Douglas Adams used to write for Doctor Who. So, that all makes sense. These episodes feel like we've gone back to that era versus, this is what Russell T Davies is doing in the future. And I don't mean that as a criticism so much as in some people are like, yeah, but I want to see new things from Doctor Who. And I don't feel like I'm really seeing anything new. But that said, the Doctor feels like the Doctor. That's the cool thing. No matter who plays the Doctor, it always kind of feels like the Doctor. And the companion, Belinda, she's great. There's been some really interesting stories. The most recent story was about a barber shop that was hiding an interstellar craft through some interdimensional rifts. So, there's just fun stuff going on. But I don't know that it's a Doctor Who for people who don't already like Doctor Who, if that makes sense.
Interesting. So is it more of an inviting kind of come into the tent Doctor Who, or who's it for?
I think if it's like, oh yeah, I've watched Doctor Who. I used to like it with Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant. Come on back. You're going to have a great time. These are going to be familiar stories. You're going to love the patter. You're going to love the pace. If it's, I loved Doctor Who, but I got bored with it being that way and I wanted something new, and I didn't like the changes when other people came in to run it, like Stephen Moffat or Chris Chibnall, I'm not sure you're going to find what you're looking for if you came to it. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com.
Heck yeah.
Meanwhile, it is my turn to promote something in this section of the show this week. And so I want to tell you that I have been invited by a very prestigious workshop to come down and join them in telling you how to do your weird thing in Austin, Texas, the weekend of June 27th.
Oh my gosh, that sounds fantastic. So this is like what, highfalutin pie in the sky stuff that's not really grounded in anything specific or real?
I understand why you would ask that, Brian, because of the tone of voice that I've been using. However, that is not the case. This is grounded, intensive, from a master of creativity, Brian Brushwood, and myself and Matt Donnelly. We're going to help people actually figure out a plan and get going on their creative thing, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, I guess we don't have enough time to do all the bits I want to do. Besides, we got more weeks. 2.5 days. The other big news is Justin Robert Young is going to be able to be there. And breaking news, you'll hear about it on his podcast. Andrew Heaton is flying in from Washington, D.C. to come join us. So it's going to be a bunch of independent podcasters. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to have a podcast, but if you do, certainly this is going to be relevant information for you. But if you just have a message and you want to be heard, that's what you're going to learn about. It's about how to get a foothold in other people's minds, which is going to be valuable no matter what you're doing.
I get it. These guys heard that you and I and Matt were doing this. They didn't want to fork over the money, so they're like, can we just be on the panel?
Yeah, actually, pretty much. That's literally that's literally the arrangement.
But you should come join us. Go check out the details at bestnewsever.com.
Best news ever.
Best news ever. Let's move on to Scan the Horizon.
Send a scanning to abort.
Scanning the horizon!
Bunch of check-ins in the earnings calls of how these streaming services are doing. Disney says income from Disney Plus and Hulu grew to $336 million, up from $47 million the same time last year. That's a pretty big jump.
Wait, I'm sorry. I totally misread that. I thought it was up 47 million. I didn't realize it was up from 47
million the same time last year. Streaming has been profitable for Disney since August. Paramount Plus, NBC's Peacock, Warner Brothers Discovery's Max's all turned a profit last year as well. So most of these streaming services are the profitable part of the studios that they are part of. Disney also reported gaining 1 million Disney Plus subscribers in the US and Canada, making for a total of 57.8 million in that market.
That's big. That's huge. Man, I'll tell you what, it's a bit like I don't want to be ever caught rooting for the Yankees, but it's increasingly feeling like that's what we do on this show. Like I'm not comfortable with their success, Tom.
Yeah. Instead, root for the Dodgers. Netflix. No, I'm just kidding. Warner Brothers Discovery streaming ad revenue jumped 35%. The company ended March with 122.3 million global streaming subscribers. That's up 5.3 million globally since last quarter. Recently launched streaming in Australia and Turkey. Film revenue was down, but that's probably going to change next time because of Minecraft and Sinners. But again, Max, the profitable arm of Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah, man. And deservedly so. Max has good stuff.
Warner also said it will start getting more assertive in the U.S. later this year about nudging people it thinks are sharing a Max subscription outside of the main household. Last month, the company introduced an extra member add-on feature in the U.S., cost you $8 a month, and they think that will roll out fully in the next 12 to 18 months. So you got some time, but they're going to come for you.
This is interesting, Tom, because like on the one hand, if this was a substantial amount of revenue that they want to recover, I don't see why they would feel the need to announce this at all. You would just enforce it. Is this to...
No, you announced this in the this is in the earnings call.
Correct.
So you're
Okay,
announcing this to the shareholders to be like,
yeah.
if you're waiting for that money from the enforcement, give it 12
It's
to
coming.
18 months.
Got it.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
AMC Networks reported revenue down 7%. Streaming subscribers down to 10.2 million from 10.4 million last year, last quarter. Though they changed the way they report. They no longer include people coming in bundled from broadband. So you can get AMC networks as part of your charter subscription, for example. They don't count those people anymore. So going down from 10.4 to 10.2 is probably not as bad as it sounds. It did say retention and viewing hours increased.
How amazing that AMC can't be bothered to count cable subscribers among their subscribers.
Yeah, well, because what they want is to see the growth market and the people signing up independently. It's very interesting. John Voight's conversation starter with the president on how to improve the film industry included a section on bringing back FinCEN, or financial interest syndication. That rule was eliminated in 1993. It was implemented in the 70s, and it prohibited primetime networks from having a financial interest in their primetime entertainment programmings. The idea would be to make streaming services work with independent production companies more often for their content.
Yeah, this is at its best the same kind of structure that you see with like creator, distributor, retailer. Oftentimes, like MSRPs in the late 70s, they would have these rackets where you had to stick to the manufacturer's suggested retail price. And if you defected from it, you're screwing it up for the other guy because heaven forbid that the free market.
I heard about that on World's Greatest Con recently.
Yeah, exactly, right? You also see similar structures in like liquor distribution and all that stuff. All of this just smells of a racket to me. I don't like it.
It's how you got Norman Lear, though.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean,
just on the other side of it. Lionsgate Entertainment has completed the full separation of its studio and Starz business into two standalone publicly traded companies. About 70% of Starz revenue is now fueled by digital, has a subscriber base of 20 million in the US and Canada as of the end of the year 2024. This is not something that's going to affect your daily life necessarily, but if you knew Starz was part of Lionsgate and then you see Lionsgate news in the future, you should know that doesn't include Starz anymore.
Yes.
The Golden Globes will add a category for Best Podcast starting next January. 6 finalists will be selected from the 25 most popular podcasts. So we really need your help.
I don't see Golden Globes. Nobody trusts anything other than the Podcast Awards. Podcast Awards is the only legitimate platform. And
is that still around?
No idea, because they really peaked around 2015 to 2018. After that, it kind of fell off.
Yeah,
I gotta find my Podcast Awards.
I just have this one from the International Academy of Web Television.
Oh man, that one's legit.
Yeah,
that's it does look like a tower of French fries.
I have a podcast award up here somewhere. Oh.
Yeah, you kind of had to make your own on that.
There it is.
Hey, look at that. That's a real one.
Yeah, that's a real one. Put that forward. All right. Finally, Amazon says its ad-supported Prime Video now reaches 130 million U.S. users, up 15 million from last year, because it turned it on for all Prime users. Ahead of its 2025 upfront, the company is launching new AI-powered ad tools like scene-aware ads, shoppable content, interactive formats, all designed to boost sales on Amazon, but also off Amazon.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the chatter.
You've got mail.
So many of you know that we are beginning an experiment. Well, the full experience is already an experiment, but we're beginning an even more experimental version of the experiment that is full experience by watching Andor while it's ending. The last 3 episodes of Andor come out Tuesday. We are going to record episode 1 of the full experience this week because we know what episode 1 is, and the first episode is always the first episode of the series.
Wait, today is the last 3 episodes come out.
Yeah, well, I guess they come out at midnight Eastern, which is like 9 or whatever. Okay. So yes, we'll get them tonight after we record episode 1 of the full experience. But by the time the full experience is published, they'll all be out. So technically we're not breaking any rules.
Yep.
And then the second episode will be the ultimate. So by next week, enough people will have weighed in on the IMDb rating for us to know what the ultimate highest rated episode of Andor is. Then we'll watch the lowest rated the week after that. And then the last episode the week after that. We want to see if watching this close, like as close as you can possibly get to the end of of a series, works. And Keith wrote in and said, I think the challenge of the Andor full experience so quickly is that you both, and I assume a large part of your audience, is fresh off of seeing Andor. I don't recall if Amos is watching Andor or not, so you're not going to have a pretty good memory. You are going to have a pretty good memory of the stuff you aren't going to see as part of the experience. I'm sure that you'll be able to put yourselves in the shoes of someone who hasn't watched Andor successfully enough to make the conversation entertaining. I suggest that you keep your eye out for other series endings that you haven't seen yet to validate whether conclusion you come to by doing Andor.
Yeah, for anybody who has megrims about the Evel Knievel stunt casting of Andor, yes, you're 100% right. We are aware that this is high risk, but it's also high reward, and we're mainly just interested to see exactly whether or not we're able to keep it objective or not.
Andrew Bradley and Alex Howard were among the people who wrote in and said, James Gunn was not involved with Thunderbolts, Brian.
Whoops. Yeah. And what's funny is like the emails very clearly were like, maybe you meant that it was James Gunn. Like, nope. I'm just saying that straight up. I somehow got it in my head that it was James Gunny and it looked and felt James Gunny. And so I totally forgot. Andrew
pointed out that James Gunn expressed interest in making the film, but by the time Feige got around to assigning it, Gunn was no longer with Marvel.
All of these are fine and charitable interpretations of the fact that I was WRONG, wrong.
But I assume that's why you were wrong, is it got in your head like that he was involved.
Well, and also not for nothing, I watched the entire movie believing it was a James Gunn movie and thought, at no point did I see anything not very James Gunny.
Finally, our boss, Rick from Orlando, writes, Tom, thanks for praising When Life Gives You Tangerines. I'm halfway through it, and it's quite an emotional story. The lead actress, IU, caught my eye. She is beautiful and talented, and I found out she's a singer and one of the most popular actresses in South Korea, if not the most popular. Check out the 2016 series Moon Lovers Scarlet Heart Row on Viki. It is right up your alley. It stars IU, time travel theme, back to the 900 AD Goryeo dynasty, palace intrigue, great storyline. Thank you, Rick. That just showed up on Viki not too long ago, and we started watching it, and I 100% agree. The other one I like with IU in it is Hotel Del Luna. So if you just like her acting, but you want something that is more like fantasy sci-fi, Hotel Del Luna, she plays an immortal who runs a hotel where dead people stay before they pass on to the other side.
Aha.
That's the hotel in Hotel Del Luna. Thank you, Rick. And thank you, everyone, for helping us out. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.